Welcome back to the Bros, and tonight we're gonna, have a reaction against the Panthers game, and then do our prediction for the Steelers game. But I guess what
Yep.
what is your initial thoughts against the Panthers?
Well, I mean, I keep saying that I don't like we'll just do the same, roll out the same players and hope they play better kind of strategy. But I guess I was wrong. I mean, Joe Mixon looked really good that game. He played great, right? I mean, it's the best I remember him running. I mean, the results are the best ever, but I mean, he was just running super hard. I
Yeah,
mean,
it looked like two different things. It looked like from the offensive line perspective, from like the run blocking, it looked like we were actually pushing people back. And then
yeah.
secondly, it looked like the classic Joe Mixon where he just looks like he's faster than everyone else, right? Because like on three of
Yeah.
those touchdown runs, he goes east and west, right? And that's usually where you get upset because he gets like tackled. But he outran everyone when he went lateral, right? Instead of just going vertical, right? But he was still able
Yeah.
to turn the corner and get the touchdown on like
Yeah.
two of those plays, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of like it just feels like when Le'Veon Bell had that really great year and everybody was talking about him being the best back. And I even remember Mixon may have even commented on it. Like he was changing his style to be more like that. And it's just like that just seemed to not really fit with what he does best. And then like this past week, it just looked like he was making a decision and then just running, you know? And he looked fast. I mean, he looked real fast. Um, and he was decisive. So even when he went east to west, it wasn't like he wasted a lot of time deciding to go east and west. You know, he outran people because he, made the decision to go and outrun the guy. I don't know. I don't know if he was hurt and he got better, if it was combination of a bunch of stuff. But I mean, I guess you know, have the same guys do the same thing and just do it better worked. So, um, I guess keep doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if he was hurt or not, but I mean, just from like the blocking perspective, you could just tell that they were creating lanes and I guess Carolina, like in terms of like their defense against like the pass rush and stuff like that is pretty good. So like I want to say top 10 against the run. So like
Yeah, they're
they're
supposed to be a decent run defense. It doesn't matter though. It's an NFL team,
right.
and they were running I'm sorry, they were running the ball so poorly. I mean, it just you don't. It's wild to expect someone to go. You know, what was this week 9? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was week 9. So you have 8 weeks of 3 yards a carry to like week 9, you just flip a switch and all of a sudden you have an explosive running game and you can get chunk plays from screens and just, outrun corners to the end zone. Just look like a completely different team, you know?
Yeah, it seemed like they were pulling the offensive line a little bit more too, like
Hmm.
throughout the game. But they not only were they doing that, but they were just having success on like all different types of runs. So it wasn't just like
Yeah,
one
yeah. I
thing.
mean, it just looked like the same stuff was working way better.
Yeah.
And I mean, I mean, maybe they were pulling and doing other things because they were able to run it so much. Because they went through a lot of weeks where they didn't run the ball that much because they were having a hard time sustaining drives and maintaining possession, that they just didn't run that many plays, right?
Yeah. Well, that was my biggest thing this week was that I didn't expect the way we played because like we went up 35 to nothing, which I think was like the biggest lead going into the halftime. in like the last 30 years or something crazy like that. But
Yeah, it
like I
almost
feel
looked
like
like a college game,
yeah,
you
no,
know?
like I felt like we were gonna win, and I felt like we should have won like big, but like I didn't think it was gonna be that big, and I didn't think we would dominate the way we did. Like if we usually when we go up that big, it's because we're tearing you up just through the passing game. But it was just it was just weird because it's like no one really expected it, and then we did it, and then it was just kind of like now I don't know what to expect going forward because like I feel like not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but like I kind of feel like they should just kind of continue to do what they did this week going into the Steelers match. But I guess it also depends on like who's available and who's not available. So I think they think Chase might be back, but
I mean, even if he's
I'd be
back, why would you run the ball different?
well. I guess my point is you could do what you did in the first game where it just seemed like we're just gonna try to throw it all over the field,
Yeah.
and then the first pass or first play we throw that pick six,
Hmm.
which ultimately lost us the game if you think about it, right? So like
There are lots of plays that lost that game.
I mean, yeah, really, but it was just like if we didn't have all those turnovers, we win that game easily, right? So it's just like just kind of crazy to think about, but I guess back to the Panthers game, it was just it was just nice to see them respond like that, and it just makes me a little bit more relieved because like I feel like no one really expected the Browns game either. Like I don't think it would have been a shock if the Browns won, but the way they won
Mhm.
last week or the previous week, big time, and like making us look bad. Like I don't think anyone really expected that. But then for us to come back and do what we did, I think it's a pretty good sign. And I guess we're exactly where we were last year, which was 5-4, like around the bye week. So, I guess it's just a matter of just now we gotta have to be perfect, like
Yeah, I guess if you want to share the screen,
sure,
um, that's the big thing is that I think their odds of making the playoffs actually went down compared to last week, even though they won. So they're at 46% chance to make the playoffs. It's still like 50-50, but yeah, there's very little margin for error, I think, going forward in the season, right? I mean, there are what, 8 games left? So if you go 4-4, you're 9-8. So it almost feels like they have to win 5 games the rest of the way, right? Or I guess it depends on what the rest of the AFC does. But
yeah.
at a minimum, you would expect they'd have to win 4-4. The division seems out of the question at this point. Because they're 0-3 in the division now. So they'd have to win all three of those games.
Well, that and just finished with a better record than the Ravens. So I mean, it's not like completely out of the question, but
Well,
the
the
Ravens
Ravens
do
are
have
6-3, right? So they've got one more win.
right,
So the Bengals have to win 2 more games than them in the final 8, right? Because they have the tiebreaker.
right, yeah. But we play them one
So
more time.
I'm sure it's possible, right? But I guess you have to just string together some wins.
Well, I mean, the thing that's working for the Ravens is that they have a much easier schedule than what we have the last 8 games. So,
Yeah.
but I guess the one advantage that we do have is the majority of our games are home on the final stretch versus like the first half of
Except
this
for the next
season.
2 games.
Huh?
The next 2 games are on the road.
Right, but
So
but then the last 6, I think 4 of them are home. So
yeah, Kansas City at home, then Cleveland at home, then go to Tampa Bay, go to New England, and then finish with Buffalo and Baltimore.
yeah,
This does not look like an easy schedule.
no, especially when you have to face the Chiefs and Bills, and then I still
Yeah.
think we have a leg up against like the Titans and Tampa in New England. I mean, I
New
would,
England, I don't know.
yeah.
They always seem to figure something out when the Bengals play them, but has been a while. So
But I guess going into the Steelers game, like, I guess the biggest wild card factor with that would be TJ Watt.
mhm,
I think he's supposed to come back this week against the Saints. Steelers
mhm.
versus Saints. So I'm interested to see, like, if he does come back. Because I feel like it'd be very similar to Reader, because I think they do expect Reader to be back for Steelers, but I think he'll just be, like, limited to where he'll just get, like, some snaps, but he's not going to play like he would normally play.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
don't know.
just...
I mean, can they play better than they played week 1?
No. I mean, I just think they played so good that it was just like... They played so good. Like, but I mean, it'd be really hard for them to do what they did in week 1. But I mean,
Mhm.
I think we would know this week when they play against the Saints. It's just hard for me to think that TJ Watts can come back and be his, like, 100% effective self like he was in week 1. Like,
I
they're
don't
probably
know.
going to be better with him, but I mean, he's not
I
just
think
not
it'd
going to...
be hard for anybody to expect to play that good twice in a year,
Well,
like
twice in a
as
year,
a
but then just coming
team.
back from an
I mean,
injury like
like
he
that
had.
whole. If you look at like their defensive stats that game, though, I mean, it was what they had 7 sacks, a pick 6, 5 turnovers.
4 in just the first half.
I mean, it's a total disaster in terms of the Bengals offense that game. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I feel like we still probably should have won. It's like the crazy part.
Yeah, well, they should have, right? Because they missed a kick because the long snapper got hurt. So you had that fluky thing happen in addition to
Well, the
kind of the
first one was
other.
blocked, and then it was the second one in overtime is when we had the backup snapper in. So, like,
I thought the blocked one they had the backup snapper in too.
no, that's when he got hurt, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But either way, it was just kind of like a fluky type situation.
Yeah.
Although I do think we did block 2 field goals ourselves too. So, like, seems like blocked field goals are more common nowadays than what it used to be, or what it feels like, I guess.
Well, I guess it depends on the distance of the kick, right? The longer kicks are easier to block, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to look into that. We'll have to get our stats bureau to look into that for us. All right. So you want to talk about the odds, or what else you want to talk about with the Steelers?
We can get into the odds.
Okay. So these are early odds, right? Because we're over a week away. So, Bengals are favored by 5.5. Over unders 42.5. It's just hard not to be optimistic, you know? I just think it's going to be like I just think the Bengals are going to come out rolling.
Well, another benefit is that they flexed the Sunday night game back to an afternoon game. So that Steelers game was supposed to be a Sunday night game. Now
Yeah,
it
I
should
mean,
just
how
be...
big of a difference does that make?
I mean, I think a little bit. It takes a little bit of the stress out, but nonetheless, I expect us to win.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I think it's going to be. I hate to say it because I always jinx it, but I feel like it's going to be a big, uh, big victory. I see something like 31-17, something like that.
That and I get a sense that, like, like, I think the Steelers kind of understand that they probably don't really have a realistic shot of making the playoffs, and even if they do, like, what are they going to do? But the fact that they already traded Chase Claypool to the
Yeah.
Bears, that kind of tells me that they're not, like... I mean, I'm sure they're going to try the best they can with what they have, but honestly, I think they're already looking forward. But I mean, it's also a game where I'm sure they would love to win, out of spite, just
Yeah,
because they're playing
but
the
I mean,
Bengals. But
if you have that running game now, so if you can get a lead on the Steelers, I just feel like you'll just completely bury them. I don't think that they can come back. Because like you mentioned, their receiving core is thin. I mean, Kenny Pickett. I mean, I I don't think he scares anybody at this point.
no, he literally throws
So
a pick every game he plays. So
yeah, I mean, if you can't beat Mitch Trubisky out for the starting job, then I mean, I don't think you're long for the NFL. But what do I know?
well, I mean, their offense is just not that explosive. They rely really heavily on their defense, and that's why I was saying like the wild card is always going to be T.J. Watt. And if he has another like crazy game, then you never know what's going to happen. But
Yeah, but that's what I mean, though. You don't need to allow him to have a crazy game. Just run it.
right, and like preference wise, I was hoping maybe like this would be the game that he would come back like the first game back, and then there'd be a little bit more
Mhm.
like. But I believe that this would technically be his second game, so he'll be a little bit more like. Because I think he's be a little bit more of a pitch count the first game, and then maybe even the second game he probably wouldn't even play as much as he would normally. Because
Mhm.
I just can't like he's not going to be like his full effective self.
But even if he is, it doesn't matter if you're able to run the ball.
Right? No, no, no. I mean, I think they should definitely test it.
Or I'm
And
sorry,
and,
it
and if
matters,
anything,
but I mean, it limits his ability to change the
I
game
and
because
another thing, I would just run the ball right at him. I would wear him down even more because like it's got to be pretty
such
grueling.
a. I mean, if we get week 9 Joe Mixon in week 11, then it's gonna negate a lot of that pass rush, and you don't have to throw the ball so much. I mean, a lot of those turnovers last time were interceptions. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it completely flips it because you don't the being one dimensional has really hurt the Bengals, and now being able to run it so effectively, have explosive plays, they hit a screenplay, which maybe that's a little underrated from what we were discussing before, but I mean, it's like being able to hit on a screenplay, that's going to slow the pass rush. Being able to run at them, that's going to limit their, obviously you're not you don't have a pass rush when you're running the ball. And you get out of like those third and longs and, having Burrow throw it like 20 times in a row. You don't have to do that if you can run it. So that's why I think things are looking up in terms of the team. And then it's just a matter of, are there enough games left for them to catch up, especially given the fact that the competition is going to increase, you know?
Well, I mean, it just comes down to like if you're gonna lose, it'd be better off if it's a non-conference team. So like when we play against the Tampa, or like because I feel like kind of have to beat the Titans, and you kind of have to beat one of the Bills and Chiefs, like split that, and then we pretty much have to beat the rest of our division. So I mean, I guess that leaves us room, like I said, where we can potentially lose to Tampa and maybe either to the Bills or the Chiefs. But
Yeah,
we
you
got to
got. I
find a
mean,
way to
to
beat one of
me,
the two.
there's 5 wins to feel good about being the wild card, and then you're gonna have to win 6 or 7 to win the division.
I would say six for sure to win the division because it's just
You,
if you look at the
you don't. So
Ravens schedule, it's
you think
pretty.
the Ravens? You don't think the Ravens can get to
I don't think the Ravens are as
11
good as what
wins?
people think they are, but at the same time, they have a
Doesn't
lot weaker.
matter. They just have to win. All that matters is how many
Well,
games they win,
I,
right?
I can still see in either one of the Steelers or Browns beating them still, and of course us. And then I can still see in like the Broncos beating them. So like, I still think they have potential to lose 3 games the remaining stretch. But all the other
Okay.
ones are still.
So you say they are going to go 5-3 then, right? So that would mean that the Bengals would have to go 6-3 at least, or 6-2 at least, right, to catch them.
Yeah.
And
About that
then you'd
range.
have to hope that well, you'd have to win all of your conference games, right? And then that the Ravens would have to lose 2 of the conference games for you to catch them and win the division, right? Or I'm sorry, division games.
Yeah, I wonder how that works because, like, if we have the same record as the Ravens, right?
Mhm.
Then if it goes head to head, we'll be 1-1, right? Say if we
Right.
beat
So
them,
then goes the division record, right?
yeah. So they would technically have to lose to the Ravens or I'm sorry, the
They'd have to lose
Steelers,
it.
Browns, and Bengals.
Yeah. They'd have to lose all 3 of their remaining division games.
Which I still think they have a possibility to. Like I think
Well, yeah,
I think
yeah,
the
but
Browns
if
are
you're
actually
saying
built to beat
they
them.
go 5-3, that means that all 3 of their losses have to be to the AFC North. And the Bengals would win 6 and also win all 3 of their remaining division games to even kind of get to
I was
that
looking at their
last
schedule, but
tiebreaker.
then I still think they could potentially lose against the Broncos too. Like I think the Broncos could beat them,
Okay.
but
So that means you're predicting the Ravens are going to go 4-4 then?
they have potential. I don't think they will. I mean,
Yeah, so
I
I mean
think they'll
really the
most
Bengals
likely.
need to win 6 or 7 to get the division then, right?
Yeah, I guess the more we talk about it, I feel like we're gonna have a better shot with a wild card spot than
Yeah, I mean
possibly the
to me
division.
I don't think the division's even in play just because of the division record.
I mean, they definitely have a chance, but it's looking low.
Yeah. Well, but the other thing is it's almost weird though because if the Ravens clinch the division, then it might help the Bengals make the wild card, right? Because their last game's against the Ravens at home.
Yeah,
So, I mean that's what that wasn't that how the Bengals lost to the Browns the second time last year? Was that they already clinched the
yeah,
division?
yeah.
So then that game didn't really matter, and the Browns got that win. So maybe, you know, one of the tough remaining games on the Bengals schedule has the potential to not be as tough.
Yeah, I feel like the key too is just winning these next couple of games. Like definitely beating the Steelers to get that division win.
Okay, are
And
you with me to the point yet where you think that the Steelers is a must-win game?
uh, yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like that way because like you gotta get that division win. Like you just got.
Yeah. Well, I to me,
It's not
you
must
just
win
gotta
in
get
terms of like
wins. In terms
statistically
of the
or like record
playoffs,
wise.
you gotta stack wins,
Yeah.
and the Steelers are one of the worst teams left on their schedule.
Yeah.
They need to get those
Steelers.
wins. And then the Titans, who knows what's going on with the Titans?
Titans, I mean, like I still feel like we're built to beat the Titans, but you know, like you can never count out Derrick Henry. But
Mhm.
it's just watching the Titans, like they couldn't do anything in the passing game or on offense, especially with their backup quarterback. But yeah, no, I feel like we're kind of built to beat the Titans, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be easy, especially when we play the Titans. Is going to be in their building, so it's just going to add to it. So, but I mean, I do feel like if we do get this win against the Steelers and against the Titans, then we should have a strong chance of making the playoffs at that point. Still probably need to split, like get one of the wins between the Chiefs and the Bills. But
Well, to me, it doesn't matter who you play, right? You just need to get to the 5 wins, right? Because the Chiefs and Bills are looking like, of course, who knows what's going to happen with the Bills with Josh Allen, but they're both looking like they're going to win their division.
yeah,
So
same thing
it's
with
not
the
really a
Titans,
head-to-head. Yeah, to me, it's just
but it's a conference
you
win.
you really only can lose 3
Well,
more
because
games and
because
feel
it's gonna get to the point where like I know the people like the teams that you beat comes into effect. So like
mhm.
if you have like a lot of things that are like tied with that other team that you're going against, it matters that you beat good teams because I think combined record comes into effect.
Yeah. But I mean, like, let's see, who are teams in the AFC that are looking like playoff teams? So Titans, but they're probably gonna win their division. Dolphins, right? But the Bengals have beaten the Dolphins, so they have the head-to-head. And then Chargers, they don't play, but then Patriots are kind of in the same position.
Yeah, we got to beat the Patriots.
And then the Jets, the Bengals have already beaten.
Yeah.
So really, for the wild card, I think things are actually not as bad as they seem. So you really, I mean, beating the game against the Patriots is going to matter a lot. And potentially a game against the Bills can be more important than any of the other games, right? Because I don't think, well, the Chiefs they only have a 1-game lead on the Chargers, right? So there's a lot of machinations and changes that can happen, right? But it's sort of like you got to beat the teams that are going to be in play for the wild card. If you're losing games, you want to lose to
easiest one's Tampa.
an NFC team or teams that win their division, right? So that when you get to the head-to-head, you stack up well, right? But ultimately, I think they need to get 5 more wins, right? Because a lot of these other teams are ahead of them in the win-loss, right?
Yeah,
But,
I mean 5. That sounds about right because that would make us what 10-7.
yeah, so I think 10-7 is kind of the target, and then you want to win as many of those 5 wins to be against the AFC teams.
Yeah, I'd say for sure against New England.
Yeah, because New England, our records are so close that I think that's a big swing game. But even with some of these other teams, things may change. But I don't know. At least we're in the hunt still, right?
Yeah, I mean
That
we're
last
in
game
it.
was cannot de-emphasize how important that last game was. I mean, it was just such a swing in the momentum, right? Because they just dominated with the run game.
Well, I mean, at no point in the game were we like worried, and then like Joe Burrow didn't even play like the last quarter and a half. Like that's how well we were playing. That's crazy.
Yeah,
So like,
no, that's what I was saying. It was like a college game. It was like Ohio State versus Indiana or Ohio State versus like Rutgers or something, It was just like one of those games where it's rare to see something that dominating in the NFL, especially from the Bengals perspective,
yeah, yeah. So
So
I think we should just
it's a
do.
big turning point.
Yeah, I think so. But let's do predictions for the final score against the Steelers.
I think I already said it.
What'd you say?
I said 31-17, so it's your turn.
Oh, 31-17. Shit. Okay. I'm gonna go 27-20 Bengals.
Okay, 27-20.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we both have the over and a cover then, according to November 9th betting lines. So, all right, cool. Well,
All right.
put another one in the can. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah. See you in a few weeks.